Arber Xhekaj gets the unsportsmanlike call, and I gotta tell you, I talked with what's his name, Dave Jackson on Twitter tonight pretty extensively because I saw him going back and forth with Marc Dumont, and I kind of had to jump in as I am wont to do because I can't keep my mouth shut ever. And I really respect Dave because he's very patient and he takes the time to go through this stuff with hockey fans, and frankly not enough I don't want to even say accountability. There's not enough officials, either linesmen or refs, who are part of the media industry that can come in and talk about this stuff with people as equals and help explain situations that we're not on the ice for, right? Like, there are some things where fans are going to get it wrong and refs are going to get it right. However, this one, no. I'm sorry, Dave. I love going back and forth with you, man, but the explanations aren't jiving for me on this one. The idea that the officials decided that the hit on Dach was clean, so therefore Xhekaj was the one initiating all of the conflict. But to me, I don't know what you, Scott, but if you're going to say a hit is clean and then make a judgment call against another player and call a penalty when, like, I've never seen a situation where three people drop their gloves and only one person gets penalized, and it's the person who was double teamed. Like, shouldn't you talk with the other refs about that hit? Shouldn't you get that initial assumption right before you then build on that assumption? Like, if you're building a house and instead of wood framing or metal framing, you're like, what if I made it out of human shit? It's not going to be a nice house. No matter how many other good decisions or right decisions you make at the end of the day, you have to get the first one right. And they got it wrong. Dach got clipped in the head. Like, it was a headshot. Like, even if it was an accidental, it's a missed call. So saying that Xhekaj was the one instigating is insanity to me.
So my thing with this is that it's like I don't know if they missed it, like, and they thought Dach was snapping his head back to avoid the hit, and they didn't call that. I can buy and understand that you cannot see everything that happens on the ice at once. That in and of itself, I don't love that, and I think it was a hit to the head, intentional or not. I don't think Sean Couturier is that kind of player. I don't think he's ever been that kind of player. The aftermath is absolute insanity to me that I've never heard Mike Johnson so incredulous on a broadcast before. And he was right because Xhekaj goes up to Couturier. Arber Xhekaj, for all of the talk about him needing to rein in his rage and whatnot, did everything right.
Yep.
He goes up to Couturier, he puts a hand towards him and goes, hey, you can't do that, whatever that may be. And Couturier goes, okay. Couturier's gloves come off first.
Yep.
His gloves came off first, which means he's the one instigating this fight. Xhekaj's gloves are still on. Xhekaj's glove comes off. And then, like, the friggin' Ultimate Warrior out of nowhere, Nick Seeler comes in and flying clotheslines Arber Xhekaj and gets nothing. If you're going to give Xhekaj and Couturier unsportsmanlike for starting a fight that didn't happen, that's fine. Giving Seeler nothing for being the most obvious third man in that's ever existed blows my mind. That he didn't make it subtle either. It's not like, oh, there was a scrum and Seeler came in and separated them. He jumps into the play with his gloves off like a friggin' superhero to defend his captain, which, for Sean Couturier's health, probably the right move. But that's a minimum 10-minute misconduct, and the refs were just like, we're going to just penalize Xhekaj only, when his gloves weren't even the first one off. Like I said, I've never heard Mike Johnson so just... I thought he was going to take off his headset and leave. Like, that's how upset he sounded in this game, and I thought he had every right to be, because he's a former player, he calls it like it is, and his mind, I think, shattered into a million pieces at that point. And I wish I had the full audio clip of it, because, oh my god, I was both laughing and infuriated at the same time. It's terrible. If that's the standard for officiating in this league, you're sunk. You're absolutely cooked. Like, that's terrible.
And I think the thing is, for me, like, when a situation like this happens, mistakes are made. Humans make mistakes. I'm fine, but it's the circling of the wagons to defend it that annoys me about the NHL. Like, oh, well, there was a ref 4 feet away and Xhekaj must have said something. I don't care. I think you look at that situation and it's very obvious that Xhekaj never expected Sean Couturier to drop the gloves. It was don't do that. I'm going to rough somebody up if you don't you want to end the situation now, sure, drop the gloves. But I'm telling you, if you're going to play like this, we're going to play like this too. And Couturier drops the gloves and you can see Xhekaj's yeah, let's go. Let's do it. And then all of a sudden Seeler comes in from behind and tackles him. And, Dave was saying that from his point of view, Seeler was acting as a peacemaker. And I was like, okay. So if Arber Xhekaj is third man in to save Nick Suzuki from fighting someone, and he drops his gloves and tackles somebody from behind, who's calling him a peacemaker? This is 100% because it's Arber Xhekaj, the call goes this way. Because if it was David Savard, there's no chance the Habs come out of that down a man. There's no chance.
I don't know how you call someone a peacemaker when I'm watching the clip right now. That it's there. If you're being a peacemaker, I don't know. I don't want to know what the troublemaker in that looks like in that world. That it's acting as a peacemaker is you kind of come in the middle and you box out and do whatever. You're not gloves off jumping into a brawl where a guy is already engaged with somebody else. That to me that reeks of shit. That's stinky. That's bad.
It's very stinky. And I don't want to, just to be clear, I don't want anybody, nobody should go after Dave Jackson. Like I said, he's incredibly patient with fans. And I disagree with him on this take. I've agreed with him on a lot of other takes. I've disagreed with him on some other takes. I think the notion that, because he replied on one when I said to him, if this is David Savard, does the call made the same way? And he was like, it doesn't matter who the player is. I'm like, okay, come on, Dave. I understand you've got to go party line, but to say that there's not reputation calls in the NHL, please don't piss on my shoes and tell me it's raining. I'm not stupid. And this is what frustrates me, I think, most about talking to people who are in positions of power in general, in hockey, whatever, life. There's this natural tendency to talk down and assume that somebody will be like, oh yeah, they'll accept this bullshit. No, people in general are not actually that dumb. And I think we should treat people with a little bit more respect than expecting them to take that kind of answer as reality. We all know that reputation calls exist. Scott, you and I watched PK Subban coming into the NHL. We know reputation calls. We watched Brendan Gallagher lose 8 goals a year to, maybe 4 of them are justified to call back. That does exist. It's a human nature thing. So I don't get the backing yourself into a corner and denying that it's real. Just admit it and say sometimes mistakes are made. Sometimes they get it wrong, but they can't really get there because it's almost like they feel like it's betraying their fellow refs. They're just humans.
And the whole thing about it is that it's Arber Xhekaj did everything right. We talked, like I said earlier in this segment here, we talked so much about how, we love that you are the toughest dude on the ice at any given time. But rein in and pick your spots. He approached this as amicably as Arber Xhekaj is able to do so in this. Yep. Especially after what happened to Dach in one of the other games, and especially in the preseason after the whole Ridley Gregg thing. He couldn't have approached this in a kinder way. In this entire game, all the Canadians pretty well kept their head on. Nick Deslauriers took a run at Michael Pezzetta, and I'm like, oh, he's going to be put on the IR after this. And Pezzetta looks at him and goes, and is telling him to calm down. This is a team that kept their head on there and still got jobbed on this. Thankfully, they didn't score on the power play, and almost immediately after that, Nick Suzuki opened it. Because had they gotten scored on there, I have a feeling this game would have gone a completely different way. That it's
well, what I put to Dave is does the NHL think about the outcomes of how they apply rules, right? Because you look at decisions that they make as a group of, whether it's the officials or Colin Campbell back in the day deciding that his kids can't get penalties, stuff like that. But it's if you're going to apply the rules in this way, what is the possible outcome of this, and what is the possible outcome of doing it a little bit differently, right? What is the possible outcome of taking both for 2 minutes. Coincidental minors. Just diffuse the situation a little bit. Because let's say Kirby Dach gets taken out by the concussion spotter after that hit. And then the Flyers score on the power play. It's a completely different game. The Habs bench is probably completely incensed and out of control, and crazy shit goes down. And we see that stuff happen in the NHL a lot because refs refuse to control the game and make the call that like fits the situation, taking the broader view. And I think sometimes they're either slaves to the rule book or slaves to like the standard interpretation of something, and also emotions, because we all have emotional reactions to everything, that they just like can't move past the stupid crap. And it's so frustrating. I don't want to spend too much more time on this because it was a good game, but you know.
It's one of the funniest things that I've ever seen, because everyone was united in being like, even Flyers fans are like, I don't understand how this isn't a penalty.
The crowd was confused.
Because he jumped in like it's a wrestling match, that it's like, this would have been a disqualification in the WWE because the third man jumped in the ring and started attacking somebody. And boy, I hope, because I know the Situation Room puts out for like no goals and certain things. I would love like an actual from the War Room, Situation Room, whatever it is, show your work on this, because I want to know, did you just straight up blow the call on the ice where it's like not great, whatever? Or is there actually some really dumb logic you're going to try to peddle on me from the league on this, where I'm going to just call you on your bullshit on that?
And honestly, Scott, like for you and for the chat as well, you tell me how you feel. If refs had to do like a couple questions after the game for media, and a ref came out and said like, listen, I got that call wrong. Like we met, we thought we had it. It wasn't the right call. Sometimes that happens. For me, man, I have so much more respect for that ref instantaneously than the denial and defense.
They are the only league where the officials are not beholden to anything. VAR in the Premier League, like they will be like, this is the reasoning behind this, and this is what, you know, we were instructed to do. The officials will be asked on that. In the NBA, they are made to answer for any like calls. There's an officials report that comes out if they miss things from the league. Maybe not baseball. Baseball itself is its own mess of things, and automatic umpires can't get here quick enough. But I would love it if it's like, if there's something egregious like this, that it's like, I just want to know, did you just miss the call, or what is your reasoning on this? Even if I don't agree with what you're saying, you have given me, you know, the fact that you're going to own up and be like, this is what I'm sticking with. I don't have to agree with it, but I can respect that you're at least putting yourself out there for that and sticking by your potentially shoddy work, but you're not, I don't have to answer to you, I don't have to answer to anybody kind of thing.
Yeah, it's not a great situation.